welcome to our expert panel here today with Bezmezh and Karisma. Thank you all so much for being here today. And let's jump right in. First, with a quick introduction of these incredible speakers that we have here. The very first one is Alex on my very far right. He's the CEO of Code IQ, a leading consultancy for go-to-market strategies. He has helped more than 110 companies scale their operations through technology. And he also oversees a coaching program that teaches participants how to leverage sales tech to scale revenue. He's also an expert in refining sales processes and implementing effective market strategies to maximize company growth. And we're very lucky because at the very, very end, he's going to show us his little secret, exactly how he builds out the entire funnel and how he manages to do personalized outreaches, outbound outreaches at scale. So big thank you to Alex. Then we have the amazing Katia Dominguez. She's the CEO of AI Marketing Hub. She was doing AI chatbots before anyone was even talking about AI. Now she has an incredible company that architects time-saving AI solutions for clients across sectors like real estate, insurance, e-commerce, and government agencies. She specializes in leveraging AI to book appointments, reduce costs by 40%, increase conversions, and rapidly scale businesses. Before then, she even had her own marketing agency. And right now, she pioneers in applying AI to give businesses back their most precious resource, time. And then lastly, we have the king of go-to-market right here, Fivos. He's the head of sales actually at Code IQ. But I'll let you just share like 2-3 bullet points right here of why you're gonna be an incredible panelist here today.
I'm the head of sales at Code IQ. So Code IQ is the go-to-market agency that you said. Essentially, we help companies optimize their outbound motion and their inbound sales process. I joined Alex in March. It was just Alex, Michelle, the other co-founder, and then me, and then another guy. Now we're 20. We scaled from 25K, 30K MRR to 250 now. And I talk with around 8 to 10 companies every day, just hearing like all the problems. So it's like YC startups, unicorns, everything. So I do have some insights. Hopefully I can will be helpful for some here.
Amazing. We'll find out. Amazing. Thank you, Fivos. Thank you so much. And so for the rest of today's discussion, we're going to be talking about the current landscape currently in sales and marketing, right? What are the big things that we have available here today to really start growing our business, start increasing our sales? Then we'll go more into the how-to, right? We're going to be talking about how to optimize and automate your systems for business efficiency and growth. Then we're also going to be talking a little bit about the organic side of growth. We're going to be talking about personal branding and content creation, just a little bit. And then we're going to be looking a little bit into the future. What does the future look like so we can start preparing for it? Alrighty? So we're going to start very quickly with understanding here the current landscape of sales and marketing. And I'd love to know, Fivos, what are the most exciting capabilities that we have available today, especially when talking to so many of the different companies at the moment? And what are some of the things that you also recommend to these companies that may be looking for more, solutions to grow their business?
Yeah, so like there's two ways to think about it. Like there's companies that come to you, so that's inbound, and then there's companies that you need to reach out first, right? That's outbound. So like typically when you start, you're probably gonna have some referrals, but then you need to reach out to people because ads, there won't be any magic, right? But now the good thing is that you can use AI and tech and you can do this at scale. So you don't need to hire people to actually do this. You just need a few tools. The question was about the tools or like just
like what are the capabilities and innovations that we have available here today?
Yeah, so the capabilities is that like just with with a couple of tools, one person can replace a team of 5 SDRs easily, and that person really needs to just understand 4 things. The first one is how to set up email infrastructure, so to be able to reach out to everyone, because there's a lot of regulations from Google Outlook. Number 2 is just to like find people, so list building. Number 3 is like data enrichment, and you can do this with a tool. I don't know, maybe you have a question about tools later, but Clay is the best tool for this one. And then number 4 is copywriting, which is the most important, like what's gonna be in the email or the LinkedIn message that you're gonna send. And yeah, if you just master all these 4 and then you combine 3-4 tools, then you don't need to hire SDRs.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And so, from Katya's perspective, I'm curious to know, how is AI currently changing the game when it comes to sales, when it comes to helping businesses grow their businesses, and what role does it have exactly in today's business landscape?
Yeah, so the biggest advantage is scalability, right? Speaking on your point that you can automate a lot of the process, whereas before maybe you needed to have a team of 10. Now you can have things like AI voice callers or AI agents on the website that would be handling the work of a whole customer support team. So the consistent nature of AI too. So for example, when I'm explaining the AI voice caller solution, whereas a team might have taken 2 months to get through a list of 100,000, with that AI, it's 24/7. You can go through the list at scale, right? Because it's not one-to-one anymore, like a person to person, it's one-to-many. So scalability, consistency in outcomes, and personalization. I think that's really powerful with AI, how granular you can get with the targeting, the messaging, and the speed. You can't beat AI. It's speed to lead, it's speed to contact. So I would say those 3 are pretty key and game changing.
And would you say that AI, is AI going to take over most of sales in the next few years, right? And how important is it to start looking into AI at the moment for your actual sales, right? Like, what role does it have exactly? Or should we just, keep on creating TikToks, videos, for Instagram and stuff like that? Or would you say, definitely go into AI? And then afterwards, Alex, I'm also curious to know, what other, tools do we have available today that we may have not mentioned here yet?
So something I explain to my clients is we're at a tipping point right now. You're still not too late. You can still get in on the wave. But if you're a business owner or you're an entrepreneur and you want to start a business, if you're too late, like in 5 years you're looking at AI, the businesses who adopted AI, the people who trained themselves up on AI, that gap is so exponential. It's not linear. It's not like going like da 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 da, like slowly up. It's going like whoosh. So the businesses that adopted AI in 5 years will be the ones that survive, literally. And the businesses that don't adapt and implement these systems, they'll be displaced. It's just a reality. There'll be displacement of jobs. There'll be new jobs that pop up. The businesses that adopt AI will be that much more scalable, that much more powerful. So everybody in this room, like everybody listening, we're still at a good moment to learn about AI, but definitely if you're not implementing AI in your business, the advantage, the people that use AI over you is exponential, and it'll just get magnified the more time passes. So definitely learn about AI, read about it, start playing with the tools. If you're a business, maybe engage with people that can help bring that expertise in-house.
Mm-hmm. And so within the tools, right, we may already be talking also about email marketing and, even referral systems. But I'm curious also to know some of these AI tools that we have at our disposal, whether it's, AI chatbots, voice systems. I'm curious to know, what are, in your opinion, some of these tools that we have available today that are most effective?
Yeah, so I think we're going to talk a lot about sales because that's what we do day to day. The first one that comes to mind is like AI note taker. So I don't know, like if any one of you like just having a lot of meetings, I think that's like one of the biggest game changer. Like people used to have to take like notes manually, like to actually fill the CRM. Now actually having just that AI note taker, you can actually tell him what you want to remember from the call, and then you can actually input those information in your CRM automatically. And then one tool that you're gonna hear us raving about is Clay. Clay, I'm gonna make a demo because sometimes it's a bit difficult to explain like what it does. But Clay allows you mainly to do outreach and personalize your outreach at scale. And so what I mean with this is that if you were doing outbound like 3-4 years ago, you would have to do a lot of research about your prospects if you wanted to personalize about them. Like where did they study? Are they hiring at the moment? Did they just did like a fundraise? With Clay, you can do that for like thousands of contacts at once and actually personalize your outreach without having to do it like manually, line by line. And so now you have like, it's what Fivos mentioned, there is a new role in sales that we call the GTM operator, so go-to-market operator. And we feel that that role can literally replace 10 old-school SDR that were either doing cold calling or manually sending like email one by one. Now, if you have someone that's very good at like Clay implementation, you can have the output of like an entire sales team. So in terms of tool, specifically for sales, what we use the most is Clay. We use Attention for AI note taking. And then we also use a tool called Default that allows us to do inbound classification. So before it was also something that sales team were doing a lot, having an SDR being like, okay, how big is the company? Which rep should actually get that meeting? Should we give it to like rep A, rep B? And now all of that is fully automated. You get someone on your website and it directly gets redirected to the right person in the company. So Default, Clay, and Attention, I would say, are the
That's
three
crazy.
main ones.
And should we even, if we already have an AI that can do all the crazy outreach to thousands of people and just like this, should we even care about, let's talk about it very briefly. We'll touch on this a little bit later, but, outbound marketing versus content creation, more inbound strategies in general. Where do you see, where would you recommend someone putting more attention to nowadays?
I think it used to be like silos where you had like people doing either like content and you were doing like pure cold outbound, so reaching out like to people that have never heard about you before. And now there is one concept which I think is going to become super important. It's called inbound-led outbound. So you actually only reach out to people that have already shown some sort of interest to you. So they either like engage with your content on LinkedIn, they visited your websites, they've maybe like commented on one of the posts of your team, and you're actually gonna reach out to those people because it's not completely cold anymore. I think people are just bombarded with so many emails that are getting like so many spam messages. Like I'm sure all of you get like hundreds of cold email. And so I think that approach of reaching out to someone that has never heard about you, there is zero trust, that doesn't really work. And so what you want to do now is like creating valuable content, people to engage with you on LinkedIn, visiting your website, and targeting those people specifically. So I think that outbound and inbound are almost becoming like one thing. And you are going to get much better results if you're like posting qualitative content. It's going to be much easier to get results with outbound, actually.
100%. And so let's say we all want to become these sales machines, right? Is there any prior work we have to do, Katya? What are the first areas you recommend someone should automate in their business before actually being ready to start outreaching to all these different people? Maybe specific areas that need to be improved and consolidated, or maybe it's specific tools that need to be implemented as well before taking on all these challenges and opportunities.
So if the final objective is to be ready for outreach, then I would say you want to have a funnel in place. So you want to have a journey that you'll take people through that will ultimately convert that lead into a coaching client, into a new user for your SaaS or whatever it is. So have an actual strategy behind where you're driving that traffic to, because what good is it to do all that outreach, all that all those emails, all those texts, all that advertising if you're going to put volume to it, but it's not going to convert well. So always line up your funnel first, and then you can really, like, to give you an example, like when we do a project, we always take like a soft launch approach, test everything, make sure everything's really good. You know, the AI is behaving like we want it to, it's achieving the objectives, and then we can put volume to it. Because for an AI to be able to go from, let's say, 200 calls to 2,000 calls, it's scalable, it's possible. So it's not about the scale, it's about dialing it in, so then you can put the volume on top. You know, once you know that funnel is going to convert, then you can really turn it up.
Mm-hmm. And you know, especially you, Fiva, was talking to many different companies, always looking at different sorts of processes. Let's say that the company now has, the structure is in place to take on a lot of demand, right? And so before then, right, like, are there any first things that you also do, such as maybe creating a wait list, maybe doing a very targeted ad at the very beginning, maybe posting something on TikTok to see if it goes viral, right? Like, what are some of those other potential things you recommend to companies that they do before taking on a lot of people? Because I don't think it makes sense to, you know, throw in all this money maybe into ads or whatever that may be, if your funnel is not properly executed, or maybe your offer is not even good enough, people may not even be interested in the actual product. So what are some of those prerequisites before actually taking on, you know,
Yeah, I can talk more a bit like about like maybe the outbound. So like before you decide it's time to reach out to 5K people, it's better to test it on a smaller scale, maybe manually. Just like if you were to text Alex, you'll go on his LinkedIn profile, you'll see, okay, he was in Berlin, maybe I can text something about Berlin, right? Or maybe it's something about his experience. So like do that manually for 50 people, see how that works, and then just get some data. So the idea is that if something works and it's manual, then it's very logical that if you automate it and you can completely automate everything and do personalized outreach at scale, then it makes sense that it will convert better. It's just a matter of scaling what works manually.
100%. And so, you know, in terms of ads, is that something you guys touch on a lot? I'm curious, you're nodding here. Yeah, how does ads, you know, like, what role does it play? I feel like a lot of people, we just tend to see just the content side of things, right, on social media. So we're like, okay, this is what we have to do, right? And I think a lot of people miss out on very fundamental things. I didn't even maybe consider doing clay, right? It took me years until I actually decided to do ads, because I was thinking like, oh, it's better just to do organic and build it slowly over time, right? But with all the advancement in AI, do you still feel like ads is also something that people should definitely not avoid under any circumstance?
I think it's a nice like enhancer of the actual results you get. Like if you're just getting started, I think relying on the growth of your business just on ads, I think it's a bit dangerous, because it means that like you always need to spend to actually get money in. But once you have like an offer that's working, or what we start to do that works really well is to actually complement outbounds with ads. And so actually when we send like an email to someone, we actually target them specifically and we show them the ad multiple times. Because usually when you sell something that's quite expensive, takes a while to convince someone. Like they might have like a sales call with Fivos, like and he's explaining what we do, and then maybe at that time it wasn't working. But then if they see your content organic, and then on top of that they see ads consistently for like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and at that specific time they actually want to buy, that's actually when you make the money. So I think ads is a nice enhancer. If you already have a good outbound strategy and a good content strategy, I think it just maximizes the results. But I would never start with ads if I haven't proven my offer yet.
Okay, so it's more around proving your offer, having a robust product, right? How much of the success actually relies on the actual offer, would you say? Is this like almost like a fundamental thing? Like if your offer is not good?
Everything.
Yeah.
Like, I think if we have a lot of like companies that want to work with us, and I think what you just explained like makes a lot of sense. It's like before investing into like automating, you want to be sure that you actually automate something that works. And so a good way to try this, just go in your Gmail, you think about the offer you want to pitch, try to understand really well who am I selling to. You make a short list of like 100 of your dream clients, and you just like write them an email manually. If you get 5, 6, 7 people that answer positively, is what Vivos mentioned. It's like if it works on a very small scale and you manage to get like 5, 6, 7% positive reply rates, then at that time it actually start making sense to scale the entire process. But at the beginning, always start small, test your offer manually before you invest a lot of money in kind of like scaling it.
Mm-hmm. So there's two things that I want to touch on here. One is the offer, and other is more like the actual niche aspect here. What would you say, Katya, are some of the main components of a killer offer, right? I think many of us reference Hormozy is always talking about kind of the dream outcome, having a guarantee. What is the likelihood? You know, like, can you run us through what an 10 out of 10 offer would actually look like?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of components, right? The value you're delivering. So if you can quantify the value you're delivering, you know, we build all sorts of AI solutions, but we went down the path of the AI caller because it's quantifiable. How many appointments are getting booked? How many of those appointments turn into sales? So, or if you're in the coaching niche, how many of the people that you coach launched 6-figure businesses, or how many people lost 10 pounds or 10 kilos? You know, something that you can quantify is really important, because if you're saying, oh, we're really great at content, and we'll boost your views, but you don't know, like, by how much, like by double, is it, how many more clicks on my bio am I going to get? So quantifying the offer. And then I would say also having, like, because I'm in AI, something super important is being on the cutting edge. So what do you offer that's different from everybody else? Is there anything innovative in your offer? Maybe you're putting different solutions together. Maybe you're leveraging several technologies. So it's not something you can go out and buy off the shelf, but you've created a whole system, a whole infrastructure. So I think the more you can solve, the bigger problem you can solve, the higher the ticket you can charge. So if you're solving a problem that takes them from here to here, from start to finish, like you've done the whole journey, you can charge super high ticket. If you're just solving their email problem, you'll have one kind of pricing. If you're solving their whole funnel, so from the ads people see, from, you know, they're getting qualified, they're getting booked in, and then you have the appointment, then you do the post-sales follow-up, like it's a whole, it's an infrastructure, which is how we position our offer is it's a whole infrastructure. So try to do something that's quantifiable, innovative, something unique you're offering, a little bit of scarcity, you know, maybe you don't work with everyone, because your offer, you can only take 10 clients a month, you know, because you're super boutique or super niche, or, and then I would say also just having a track record of success. Like, we don't even do ads and we get business, you know, because it's like we have the case studies, we have the track record, we have the different niches we've helped. So if you have the brand behind you and the case studies behind you, you don't have to actually spend that much on ads, because you'll have people coming to you. So that's what I would really try to focus on, building a strong brand that's valuable, because people will come to you. You don't have to go looking so much.
And that's actually something I love in the Code IQ website. You prove it. You don't just promise it, right? I think the offer aspect is something really, really important. Would you guys add anything to the offer aspect? Is there anything else that you would say this definitely has to be considered in order to have an impeccable offer that people will 100% say yes to? Or not?
I think when you're getting started and nobody knows you, it's very tempting to give like guarantees. So you see that a lot with people, like, for example, like us that do lead gen. It's very easy for anyone to start like a lead gen company. Like tomorrow you can watch like some YouTube videos, like buy like a smart lead account, an Apollo account, and start offering lead gen services. And so you start to see like the craziest guarantees. Like, if I don't generate 60 leads, I give you back your money 2x. And so you start people kind of like exaggerating a little bit with the guarantee. And the more you stay in business for long and the more you can actually deliver on results, the least you need to do guarantees. Like now, Fiverr still gets a lot on sales call. People are like, oh yeah, like I've heard that 5 other competitors are giving guarantees. We don't give guarantees anymore because we have done the work. So that's what you mentioned. It's like, once you can show through case study that like you can actually deliver on what you promise, there is no need to make guarantee. Another thing I would add is that content is the best way to build trust. Like when you sell something, no one trusts you. Like if you just send an email, it's like, I don't know you, like I've never seen you, I just received an email. It's very difficult to build the trust with someone you want to sell to. And through content, if people have seen your content for like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, they start to be like, okay, that guy cannot bullshit because I've seen like 30 different posts about the topic. And so for us, we are investing massively into like making everyone at Cold IQ almost like a B2B influencer. Like we're incentivizing every employee to post a lot, because if one prospect doesn't close, we directly add them on LinkedIn. And so they just get exposed to our content for months. And so we have it so many times where someone might not close in October, we add them on LinkedIn, and then in 3 months, they've seen our content for so long, they're like, okay, those guys know the shit, I need to work with them. So I would say when you start, guarantee, but at some point, drop those guarantees and try to make valuable content for your target audience.
We'll dive deeper into content creation, but thank you for that little teaser right there. We talked about, the guarantees, which I think is really important. Would you still recommend, doing these guarantees when you're just getting started, right? Let's say you're just launching a new product, maybe it's your first time, maybe you're starting something for the very first time, right? You start sending out these emails to people with your specific offer. But what specific guarantees would you recommend people should use at the very beginning, or how can they get themselves out there? Maybe, I've even heard from people saying, at the very beginning, just offer your services for free, so that people kind of start understanding who you are, so you can start testing yourself out. Maybe you can say like, hey, if you liked it, maybe you can give me a testimonial or like a referral. What would you say to these people who are just getting started and have a completely new product, service that they want to get out there?
Yeah, I think I would much rather just offer a month of service for free and they can cover just the software cost, rather than saying that if I don't get you 20 leads, you can get your money back. Because like lead gen is cool, but at the end of the day, you're selling someone else's product. And if there's no product market fit, or if there's too much competition, or you try to do this in cybersecurity that doesn't work, then you're probably not gonna get too much to prove yourself. So I'd rather do some free work initially, 1 month. This is actually exactly what our roommate is doing, because he's just started an ads agency, and he's doing that right now. And he closed 2 clients, proved the results, and now he's upselling them to a 2.5K retainer. So I think, free work is the best.
So kind of start, show the results, and then afterwards. But what if you're not just a lead gen agency that can very tangibly kind of show numeric results, but you're just like selling a product, maybe you're selling sweaters, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's more difficult. But again, I would still go the content route. Like the best way is to really like prove that you can be like useful to your ICP, so ideal customer profile, by just like posting valuable content to them. So you build that trust, because at the end of the day, guarantee are there to eliminate the lack of trust that the prospect has in you. And so if you can show them through like valuable content that like the topic, you need less and less of a guarantee. So I would more like first 3 months, just try to understand what you want to sell exactly, would you want to help, and make useful content to them. And I'm almost sure that you won't need a guarantee when you start selling.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I 100% agree with you that, it's important to, run all the ads, do the outbound marketing, but also, run the content consistently, that content machine that it feels like many of us are just enslaved to nowadays. It feels like almost you have to do it, right? But I agree, it's extremely powerful, right? And I think there's ways to also, find ways to really make it something enjoyable. I think there's ways to find your specific medium, right? Like, for example, maybe you don't like dancing on TikTok, right? But maybe your LinkedIn posts are just absolutely killer. And I agree that it must be useful, right? But useful is easier said than done. So how do you actually make sure that your content really is useful? Do you have any specific frameworks, content pillars that you follow, ways of thinking to make sure that your content actually gets to the right people, really makes the impact that you want, and then helps you convert those people into actual customers?
Yeah, so what I would do is like trying to talk to potential customers as fast as possible. Like I think Fivos always has like amazing content idea because he's talking to prospects the entire day. And just by asking them questions, you can be, okay, what is your pain points? How can we help? And based on the conversation that you have with potential clients, they're gonna explain what they struggle with. And then through your content, you can actually answer those questions and those pain points. If like someone is like, I'm completely overwhelmed of selecting my tool stack to do outbound, something that we hear a lot for why companies come to us. Then we're probably gonna make posts explaining like tool stack budget for $250 a month. And then we're gonna like offer like a specific tool stack and then like enterprise tool stack recommendation, because we know that these are the questions that the prospects are constantly asking us about. And so we're just gonna answer those through our content, because if it's useful for like 10 prospects, probably on LinkedIn is going to be useful for like many more potential prospects. So I would do a lot of like, not customer interview, but trying to take sales call. Try to sell what you want to sell, try to understand the pain point of your SCP and make contents that answer those questions.
100%. And one of the things I really liked about your answer is that I think, you know, many of us think that it's about us. We are the best, blah, blah, blah. We are, when really it's always about the actual users, right? Like who are the actual heroes of the story. Has anybody here read Building a Story Brand? Building a Story Brand, one of the best books on marketing I've ever read. Basically what Donald Miller talks about, and actually every time I do like any, like on ChatGPT, I write any copy or I do anything, you know, specific to convert potential users, most of the time I'm like, can you please rephrase this entire thing I've just written using Donald Miller's story brand framework? And it's going to be incredible. I highly recommend you just pop your email, like your website link on ChatGPT and say, hey, look, I'm looking to convert more customers, blah, blah, blah. Please use Donald Miller's story brand framework. And then once you do that, you just send me a transfer of 50 to 100 euros, whatever you want, and you're very much welcome. But basically, what Donald Miller talks about is that, you know, you need to take people on a journey, right? So the most important thing is that, you know, first of all, you need to identify who is your ideal persona, right? Like who is the hero of the story and what is the problem that this person is actually facing, right? Then is when the actual guide, the Yoda for Luke Skywalker, comes in with a plan. This is what you need to do, and you kind of like propose kind of like the step-by-step process. You actually see that in many high-converting websites, you kind of see that it's like, once you sign up, then this is step number 2, number 3, number 4, so that person can really visualize what that looks like. And then it's very important to contrast that better tomorrow versus the potential future that could happen in case you actually don't do what we tell you to do, right? And then of course in that process, when you present yourself as the guide, you have to show that you have authority when it comes to this, but also be able to empathize with the other people. So I highly, highly recommend using the story brand framework. You're welcome. And then Katya, I'm curious, you know, everyone now feels like they have to do content. How can we make the content creation process easier with the help of AI? What tools do we have available today? And how can we actually just make it just easier for all of us here?
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned one way, which is having a custom GPT. So having an AI trained specifically for a very niche use case. So creating content, creating reels, the captions for the reels, or YouTube script, or like the ones I do in my business are like I use also an AI note taker. So I take that and then automate it so that it takes the conversation and does a brief and scope for the project. And so then I just have to go in and kind of like put in my thoughts or whatever. So you could do that, for example, like the most important thing is giving it the frameworks you want. So give it the examples you want, give it samples of your writing so it understands your tone of voice. So it's very like personal to you. So you can train GPTs, like build them through ChatGPT, custom on your use case. So try to keep it wearing one hat. If you give it too many hats, it's going to dilute the effectiveness. So have one for like let's say like one for your reels and then have another for email, because copywriting strategies and structure is different than like a quick like 10-second like TikTok thing. And then another thing you can do is you can leverage like AI tools. So if you do long form content like a YouTube video, and you normally maybe you take that long video and you splice it up into little clips for like TikTok or Instagram, use a tool like Opus Pro and it'll splice it up for you, and now you have content for like short form, and you don't have to edit it. It does the little like really catchy like killer hook strategy with like the captions and the different colors in the captions. The other thing you can do is you can leverage like generative AI. So like, for example, text to image, text to video. So like Runway, if you write a description, it'll do a video for you. If you use tools like DALL-E, you can write a description, it'll create a picture for you. If you really want to get like super fancy, then build a whole workflow and automate your entire content creation process. And you can do things like Canva, for example, like you can bulk upload captions and it'll bulk create the content for you. So if you really want to get super strategic and streamlined, like automate the whole thing, and then leave room for your creative genius, you know, leave room to put your thought leadership piece, leave room to do some impromptu stuff. But you can like really take advantage of the AI tools for video, for captions, for images, yeah, like pretty much everything. And even Canva now has like the AI features. So if it's like an image that maybe it's like the background's bad or something, you could swap it. If the image gets cut short, you can extend it. So I like Canva a lot. I use that one a lot. And I would say also like something I put together, maybe like I could share with you guys. I have like a AI toolkit I have for myself. So whenever I want something quick, like I could just look up in this little spreadsheet I have of like really great AI tools. It was a business I was gonna do, but I didn't go down that path. So this is why I have this stuff. I was gonna do like content education around AI, but I decided to go more like the hardcore techie route, software development. But if you guys want it, I'd be happy to share it with a group.
And I agree that training your GPTs is fundamental.
Yeah.
Like if you're not doing it, like go do that tonight. The way I do it is I've created multiple PDF documents. One is everything about Karisma, knows everything into every single detail, every single membership, pain points of the individual people, whatever that may be. I have another one which is basically I just put together like 10 ideal emails of how I like to write, my writing style and stuff like that. Then we have literally like for all the different kinds of events that we have. So we literally have like different channels that know absolutely everything about everything. And it almost feels like cheating, to be honest. You know, I'm just like doing like weeks of work and just like this, and I still feel like, oh, I need to do more things. Oh my God. But you mentioned the part of automation, right? And same as with Alex, right? Easier said than done. How do you actually automate these processes? Do you use something like Zapier, right? Do you use something like Make, right? Like, can you just be a little bit more specific on how you actually automate some of these processes? And then if you want to jump in and fill in some of the gaps, please go ahead.
Yeah, so like beginner-friendly tools, low code, no code would be like Zapier, Make. Personally, we use N8N, and I recommend it because if you and it's a big hack, N8N. Because if you self-host that baby, you don't pay anything, okay? You're paying like pennies. So we used to pay Make, we used to pay Zapier. Like, no, you just self-host it. It's a little bit more techy, but then you don't pay. It's like free for life for your automation. So I really recommend that. If you're a little bit more techy, or get someone to do it, like pay someone to do it for you, because it used to be $50 a month just to host like a couple little automations, and now you don't have to pay for it. So I would do that one. And then if you really want to get sophisticated and it's not going to be off the shelf stuff, then you probably need to work with a developer. But easy, friendly stuff, go to the make templates and they'll tell you like, hey, take this template, which is like, use ChatGPT to help me write a blog post. And they've already put it together for you. So you just need to plug in your info. So use the templates in Make and Zapier. And then once you get fancy and you're like, all right, just automate my whole like sales process or whole operations, like work with like a development agent. Work with me.
Go to Katya.
Yeah, but Make, Zapier, N8N, really, really good.
N8 and
Oh, and there's another one called If This Then That, which is like when this happens, make this happen. And it's a little bit more beginner friendly too. Like let's say when I get an email for a sale, I want to get a notification text or I want it to like announce it in my Slack channel. You could do that one too.
Did you miss anything?
I mean, these are good. Like if you start with Zapier, then like you understand everything. Like every single tool like this, they work the same. So you don't like if you just learn one, then you know every other tool. Like for content, 2 more tools I will add. Clio is a free tool. It's a free LinkedIn extension, and you can just visit profiles and see their top posts. So you can see what resonates, and then you can somehow copy them and just make them. Your own voice. And Tweet Hunter, that's for Twitter. So I do it a lot personally because, it's like a hack, right? You see what converts and then you just change it, you put your own tone. And then if you steal from multiple people, then it's not stealing, it's your own voice at the end.
Inspiration.
Yeah, and personally, I have like a Notion database. I keep everything there, like a LinkedIn calendar, and then I just split everything with the main pillars of like what I do. So like when you want to learn, how to do this outbound prospecting, you need to really understand 7 things. So I just put there everything about like the most common questions about every single pillar, and then I just go there and then I just essentially answer it, and then I repurpose my content all the time.
Nice. So Tweet Hunter is more of an automation or tool for Twitter, right? Like finding tools and stuff like that. I think there's also Hype Fury, which is also really good. And for LinkedIn specific, there's Taplio. Taplio is also a really, really great tool. I'm curious to know, maybe for both of you, how has personal branding changed the game for you when it comes to sales, right? Like, is this thing where like, oh my God, I was doing all these outreaches before, right? It was great, but the moment I start building my personal brand, next level.
I mean, our entire business is built on LinkedIn content. So we have around, Fivos, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 100 meetings a month just from LinkedIn. So for us, it's literally when me and my co-founder started, was just the 2 of us. We posted now for bits like 18 months. Now we have like the entire Cold IQ team is posting a lot, but we still get most of our traffic is LinkedIn content, and it's completely changed the dynamic when you work with prospects. Like if you have never posted anything, they don't know you, when you arrive in the sales call, all that trust needs to be built. Like you need to be so convincing, like work with me, like I'm gonna do this and this. Once people start to see you as an authority, they don't want to work with like that agency or that agency. They want to work with you specifically. And so I think I can only talk about B2B because we only do B2B. But I remember like the first sales call I took, and I was already posting. I thought it would be like I would have to read 10 sales books to understand like how to do discovery questions and like how to run a sales call. And the guy was like, "Hey Alex, love your content. Where is the Stripe link? Let's start." Like there's no selling to do, because I think if they know you and are like convinced by like your content and what you share, there is very little convincing that needs to happen. And so it's the same for every single employee at Cold IQ. We really try to incentivize everyone. Fivos just crossed 10K on LinkedIn last month. So and I think it's the same for you. It's also helping a lot in the sales call. So.
He's getting emotional.
No, I'm supposed to. Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, the company last quarter, we have more than 4 million impressions, which is like what matters, right? And then eventually some of these people, they will book a call. And then when they come to the calls, they're all like, "We've been seeing you everywhere. So I mean, they know that we know our stuff, and especially when you're in the service industry, the number one thing is just trust. Like if they don't buy, most likely it's because of trust or the price. So yeah, it's been huge for us.
Yeah. And before we get on to the last part, I have like two quick questions here. We talked about stats, impressions, data, right? I'm now like, well, I'm not really reading it. I'm just putting the PDF download into ChatGPT and then asking questions specific on that and telling me to update things on me. But I'm reading measure what matters or something like that, right? Like the importance of, really leveraging the data to know, how you're actually growing. In this journey to 10x your growth, right? How relevant is it to actually measure, your growth, to gather as much data as possible? Because I myself, we're doing ads, we're doing all these things, we're doing content, building funnels, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not really measuring that much. And I don't know if I'm doing a very big mistake here, right? Maybe I'm just like, it's fine, So yeah, I'm curious to know, like, what role does data play? Katya, I see you thinking there.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the things you measure. But yeah, you guys should. Oh, can I add one thing before about the other thing you were talking about? I know, because I wanted to share, because maybe not everybody has a personal brand yet, but something you can get that credibility a lot of different ways. You can get it through case studies. You can get it through testimonials. You can get it through, if you're on a freelance platform and you're top rated, maybe you're in the top 1%. Or maybe you've worked with a really big name. You can leverage all those things. I just wanted to say that because maybe not everybody is far along in the content game. You can get that credibility and that, like what Alex was talking about, that you would have, somebody wanting to work with you. You can get it a lot of different ways. So it's not just through content. There's a lot. Okay, and then measuring. Yeah, it's interesting to see. For now, what we're seeing, very high impact, is creating that ascension ladder for the projects we're on. So if a client's like really wanting to go all in, we'll give them the full infrastructure. But if they're not, we have like a tinier offer, maybe like an AI agent, and then we ascend them to like an AI caller infrastructure. So that data was important for us to see that the clients that are really valuable for us are the ones that we're doing multiple projects on the back. So you don't have to go looking, like your next sale might not come from a new client. It might come from your current client doing a different project with you. Or maybe you're gonna take care of a different part of the business for them. Maybe you're doing client acquisition, and maybe now you're gonna help them with client fulfillment. So I think that was really insightful for us to see, like, oh wait, we're actually growing with the current clients we're serving, which is like a really good thing. And then the other thing to look at is also look at, sometimes it's high ticket, but if it's high skill as well, it's high cost. So then you have to look at the projects you're delivering. Is it also, what's the profitability on the project? Because it can have an attractive ticket, but then if it's really high ticket skills as well, then maybe the little ones have a higher margin, but the big ones are going to build up your brand more. Do you know what I mean? So it's not always about the money, because sometimes like a large implementation might be, more valuable for your brand in terms of positioning. Maybe working with an influencer, a top name, might be more valuable for your brand than trying to get the last dollar. So always weigh, yes, the money, but also weigh what doors that opportunity will open up to you. I'll just give you one example. One of our clients, he's really crazy, but he's in so many worlds. He's like a Stanford graduate, PhD. He's also in the medical field. He also is like a family office person. Anyways, he's like in financial planning, medical, academia, like 3 different doors open with him. So also think about the opportunities that are being open to you. And maybe some of that is what I'm trying to say, is some is tangible, but some of this stuff is intangible. And don't forget about the value of that too.
Thanks. And in terms of data, is there any other things that you think, especially you more as a COO kind of role. What role does data play in your growth specifically? And what are some of the main things, metrics to look out for?
I think it depends which stage of business you're at. I think at the beginning, if you make zero revenue, you can track whatever you want. It won't matter that much. So I think at the beginning, when you start, it's just like try to make your first revenue, and like all the data can come after. I think now at a stage, we try to invest a lot more in like financial planning, trying to, like what Katia mentioned, like profitability per product, because we have like different revenue stream in the business, being like, okay, is the agency the most profitable? Is the coaching program the most profitable? So we can make like smarter decision. One metric I'm really trying to improve on is the revenue per employee. Because I think at the beginning when we started, we had an agency. And so an agency is an amazing business model to get started, because you can just sell like 2-3 clients and you already make like 10K per month. But the more you scale, the more it's difficult to keep growing, because you need a lot of people. Like you scale an agency with headcount, and so it's like, okay, if I sign 5 more clients, I need 1 or 2 more employees to actually serve those clients. And so now we're trying to develop new revenue stream with our coaching program, for example, where we can actually increase the revenue by a lot without having to scale headcount. And so that's one metric at our stage where I think it makes a lot of sense, where we really want to think about what is much more scalable, and then we don't need to create a company of like 100 employees.
And when it comes to employees, do you focus more on, data or specific goals, more around the actual inputs or the outputs, right? Because I kind of hear kind of different things, right? Like sometimes the goal is like, okay, we need to get to 200K, right? But maybe to get to the 200K, you have to do 50 calls every day, to get that, because you found out that so much percentage of people actually close, blah, blah, blah. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it really depends of the department. So, for example, if you do cold calling, if you're like a cold calling team, you need to measure by input. It's like, how many calls did you do today? Like, you really need to measure, like, what's the action they're doing. But I think for other roles, I'm much more about like measuring the output. It's like, I don't care how long you work, when you work, like show me results. And so what we do inside of the agency is that so there are CSM, but we call them GTM engineers. So there are people that work with the clients. Go-to-market engineers. So it's people that build clay table, run outbound, and so on. One manage 5 clients, and there is only 1 employee on the account. So if after 3 months, which is the minimum contract duration, if the client is churning, there is only the GTME to be accountable. Like we know that like you could have done better. There is not like 10 people where you can kind of split the blame. It's like, yeah, you could have done a better job there. And so what I really try to do in the business is that it's very easy like to measure like the output of someone. Like I try to avoid roles that are a bit more like working a little bit everywhere, because then it's very easy to hide behind other people. And I think when you do a service and you have one person responsible for the account, like it builds much better accountability. So, but to answer your question, I'm much prefer to measure based on output.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm also kind of slowly coming to the conclusion how important it is to actually measure things, especially when you have a team as well, so you can hold people accountable as well. It's easier to have also conversations with people because it's just like white or black, really, at the end of the day. And we're coming now to the last part of today's conversation. Thank you so much so far. This has been absolutely incredible. I would love to wrap it up just with a look outward into the future, right? And maybe let's go just one by one, right? What is one thing that people should really take away from today's conversation to be as prepared as possible for the future and really, turn on the cash machine for their business, right? Maybe it's something that's just coming and we need to look out for that. Maybe it's already something that most people are actually not using yet, and it's something indispensable in your business at the moment. So yeah, I'm curious to know what is that one thing that you would love to share with everyone here today in the order that you guys want.
Yeah, I can start. I think one big shift that's happening in sales is that you have that new category, what's called AI agents. And so it's pretty much like software that's going to replace entirely sales team. So rather than have people making like research about the prospect, researching information about the prospect, now AI is getting so good that like you can just input your website, who you sell to, and you're going to have an AI agent that's going to do like all the prospecting work. And so now here again, we're very focused on sales, but I think if you were to you're already in sales, so you want to start a career in sales, I see two paths moving forwards. Either you need to become extremely technical and you need to understand like how to use the different tools like Clay that we mentioned a lot to really be able to kind of leverage technology to have like a bigger outputs, or you need to become an amazing salesman. Like you need to be so good at selling that like all the AI is going to do the prospection for you, is going to book you meetings, and then you need to be good enough to actually convince people to buy from you. So I see two kind of main career paths that are going to be like extremely lucrative. Either you specialize and you become like the OG seller and you're just like closing deal after deal, because at the end of the day, people still want to buy from another human. So I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. But it's either this, or you need to become much more technical to be able to use all the different sales tech tools and have the output of like 10 old school SDR that used to do everything manually.
Yeah, so something that's going to be happening more and more, it's already happening, but are autonomous agents in a team. So what that means is you have, one agent that's maybe doing the research side of things, one doing the summary, one doing, maybe it's connecting, to your CRM and doing call dispositions and, seeing what part of the pipeline it fits in. But basically, think of it as like all these AIs working for your business and you're like orchestrating, like they're talking between themselves. Like it sounds crazy, but it's already happening because we built solutions where, to have one really specialized and really good at like cleaning the data, formatting the data, and another really good at providing the output. It's like they need to pass information to one another. So having these AIs orchestrating in like a practical sense, you could think of it as like, you're like, okay, I want to take a trip, and you guys should try it. I want to take a trip to, there's one called Agent GPT, and you go on this thing and you just say like, plan my trip. I did it for my Japan trip. I was going with a friend and I'm like, hey, I just want to see what AI would put in there. And so I was like, okay, we have a 3-week trip in Japan. We're going to be in Tokyo, Osaka, whatever. I gave it all the things. And it literally plans the trip for you. It'll say, these are the highlights, da, 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 da. And then where it's going to get to in the future is you'll be like, okay, how much? And it'll quote you some price. And you're like, hey, book me the ticket, book me the hotel. And it'll do all this for you. So this is where it's going. And businesses are going to have, instead of entire teams, they'll have like an AI agent team. And then how to prepare for this. I think the best way is invest in yourself, invest in your mind, invest in your skills, because information is going to zero. Like everyone has access to information if you have an internet connection. So info is not valuable anymore. Like you can look it up, you can Google it, you can get an AI, like try Perplexity. That's an amazing AI tool I use all the time, because GPT, you ask it something, it tells you things and you're like, is it making it up? Is it real? Where did it get it from? Perplexity will give you the sources of information. So I highly recommend going that way. But anyways, back to the point about upskilling yourself, staying on the cutting edge. People are going to have the same advantages with the AI. So the people that think and know how to orchestrate the solutions and know how to extract the value or provide the value, that's the people who are really going to be on top. So invest in yourself, your skills, your knowledge, and you will be able to foresee the trends and be, either at participating in it or leading it or bringing value to businesses. So I would say, invest in yourself. Yeah.
I can talk about like if you want to structure your sales team. I think you need 3 people. And I'm talking about like generally both inbound and outbound, but generally you cannot really rely on inbound, because if you rely only on those that reach out to you first, then probably it's not going to be your dream clients, right? So that's the key metric, I think, that for every organization soon will be the ICP, pipeline progression. So to achieve that, you need outbound, right? So
can you explain what ICP is?
ICP is the ideal customer profile. So we don't want people that have like, less than 30K in MRR, or like they have less than turn employees. So that for us, like even if we get those requests, we don't want them. So we want people that are within our ICP. So to achieve that, you need to also reach out first, right? To reach out first, you need like a guy that is going to take care of the mass outreach, but it's still personalized outreach at scale. And
So that would be the GTM engineer. Correct?
exactly, the go-to-market engineer. And then after that is the SDR. So like the SDR is like the traditional guy that will still do some manual prospecting. That will be maybe some calling to very qualified leads or like the top 200 leads. And then some inbound lead outbound plays, which means like people that visit your website, because you can track everything now. You can de-anonymize everyone. And then you have the account executive, which is just gonna close the deals.
Amazing. Alrighty. I'm not the expert, so I'll just start with a big clap here.